Welcome to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Today we have with us Katie Hess from Lotuswei. Katie, glad you could join us.
I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Katie, first of all, I want to thank you for the samples you sent through the mail. They arrived really quickly and they're awesome. Originally, my plan, I was going to share them with a shepherd, but they were so good, I decided not to. Plus, he's not really into flowery smells.
Yes, I would like to not thank you for not giving me any samples and sending them all to him, because that's pretty much how everything rolls with him.
Yeah.
All the good stuff he keeps for himself, and then he's like, oh, here's some garbage thing, you can have that. Oh, that kind of sucks.
I did bring in some of those samples of the adult diapers.
Yes, that's great, and they're still sitting in that
emergency.
box over there. So that's how he rolls. It's a good thing you're not a manufacturer of adult diapers, or I would have yet another box sitting over there for me.
We've got 3 actually in the corner. But Katie, I spent actually about 20 minutes, 30 minutes going through your website, and there was a lot of stuff. So I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to bail out and be somebody who has a little bit of knowledge, but not too much knowledge. So you have the opportunity really to describe everything you have.
But that's pretty much every topic we discuss is you have a little bit of knowledge, but not that much knowledge.
Yeah. So first of all, flower essences. That was the most stick out thing, I guess, going through your website and without any type of background knowledge to that. How do you explain to somebody like the shepherd, who I've given no information to whatsoever, what on earth is it about flower essences?
Yeah, I think sometimes it helps to look at it in terms of historical context. So this has been around for thousands of years, even though many of us, have just heard about it in the last few decades. You would see medicine men and women and shaman and alchemists and doctors in, all over the parts of the world, prescribing their patients to go out into the wild and look for certain flowers and drink the dewdrops from the tops of the flower every morning as a form of emotional, mental, spiritual healing. So today, flower essences are a way that we've essentially scaled dewdrops, which is great because places like where you live and where I live, dew is a bit rare. And it's also just not practical. So flower essences are the ability to capture the healing power of flowers and plants and basically bottle it up so you can bring nature into your everyday life to feel more stabilized, more balanced, sleep better, feel happier.
So,
does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I keep thinking about, was it Glade that had that deal that was like herbal essences?
Yeah,
and
when
they
you
had
plug
this.
them in and it's supposed to give off the aroma. I think the problem with that is that what they were using was synthetic equivalents to try and mimic the smell, because there are certain smells which are associated, like if you take like lavender, supposedly calming, but they were using synthetic, so it would kind of have a longer shelf life, and obviously you're not getting the same effect as something fresh and natural.
Toxic.
Oh my God,
how are they toxic?
Well, you can't drink them for one.
Well, they're full of phthalates, and if you have baby boys, it's very high chances that reproductive organs won't come out right.
Oh, so that explains your problem.
That explains,
Eliminate the artificial fragrances. And then what we do is, so we do work with essential oils and aromatherapy. So some of the things that we sent you have a scent, because when I first started 20 some years ago, I came back to the States and yoga wasn't cool yet. Meditation wasn't cool yet. And people were like, what? You work with the energy of flowers? That sounds super woo-woo. So we started incorporating the smelly stuff, like the aromatherapy and the oils from plants, into the experience to just give people that sensuous experience. But the real magic of what we do is what you can't smell and what's traditionally taken internally. So in the UK, they found at the University of Bristol that bees are actually not attracted to flowers based on color or scent, like we thought. That flowers are actually emitting this little electrical current, and the bees can perceive it in the little hairs on their legs. And there's this dynamic communication occurring between the plants and the bees, right? So we know that there's this electrical current, and that's essentially what we're capturing storing in water, preserving with alcohol. And then when you drink it or put it on your skin, it travels to your acupuncture meridians. So it's kind of like an acupuncture treatment without the needles.
Now, where do you find?
Well,
sorry,
now hang on. Do we seriously want to? We seriously want to trust something coming out of the UK though, because we've talked about this before, and y'all can't figure anything out over here. That's why that's why he, escaped from the UK as fast as he could and came over here to the great state of Texas. So I'm already skeptical. I mean, y'all still play a lot of soccer,
but to be honest, you haven't really improved on much, have you?
No, we haven't.
Now, what I was going to ask is, obviously there's a fine line, I think, when you introduce this type of thing to people where it goes not necessarily outside of their comfort zone, but outside of, I guess, what they really, conceive as their belief system. I mean, people will have a familiarity with something like, say an extract of milk thistle, that's been used for many years in terms of like, that's good for the liver, and various plant extracts in supplements you can buy. But as soon as you start getting into the type of aura thing and healing through smells, that's where people start kind of disconnecting a little bit, mainly because of lack of experience in education. But how do you open people up to this without actually getting them to try it and having the experience of it first?
Yeah, I mean, I love skeptics. I've worked with, skeptics for the last 20 some years. And I think you do have to be careful in today's day and age, right? There's a lot of snake oil out there, and there's a lot of weird stories, and there's a lot of misinformation and, things flying around. So you do have to be into critical thinking. Critical thinking is a great, great skill. But like usually I'll say, like, how does one of these things work? I'm not sure if your listeners can see the video, but how does a cell phone work? Right? Like if someone had said, hey, Tristan, hey, Max, when you're older, when you're little boys, when you're older, you're going to carry around a little box in your pocket, and it's going to emit invisible waves. And riding like a magic carpet on those invisible waves will be your podcast, your videos, your photos, your poetry, your music. And you could reach someone on the other side of the planet in 2 seconds if you wanted to, by information, particle form, riding on invisible waves. Like that seems a little bit out there, eh?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to technology, even from decades ago, going back to the 1950s, people saw that things would be invented, or they hoped things would be invented. And it was almost a case of, let's try and invent what people have thought of. But when it comes to plant medicines, you're really kind of going back in time to reconnect to what many cultures have had the knowledge of for hundreds and thousands of years. We've actually had a couple of shaman on the show, some people who practice plant medicine, hypnotherapy. So, I mean, we're very open, and our listeners are very open to those ideas. But, the general population, like you say, there is that skepticism because they want to trust a medical profession with research behind it. But as we all know, the medical industry, if they can't make a huge ton of money off it, they're not very willing to promote natural supplements. So do you get much of a kickback or pushback from people trying to poo-poo the idea and put it down and saying it's all, hocus pocus?
I did like 10, 20 years ago. Now I find that people are way more open to what I'm up to and willing to sort of go, that's something I've never heard about before. Sounds a little out there. But I'm willing to try it. There's no negative side effects. There's no harm in it. Sure, I'll try it. If it can help me sleep better, or if it can make me want to play with my kids more, or, I'm really struggling with something, why not try it? And then when they try it, then it's like you didn't need a doctor or someone to tell you that your cell phone works. You just tried it and you were like, oh, this thing works. I'm not really sure how it works, but it works. Then the same can happen with natural modalities. You try it and you're like, this is really weird, but I feel a difference. And I think you can't really argue with that kind of experience when it's your own, right?
Right. And the fact that you kind of point to that, hey, try it, because your doctor says this, right? I mean, normal people, right? They just go to the doctor says, oh, I can take care of your problem, take this pill. And you go to the pharmacist, you get the pills filled, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to take one of these a day for 30 days. Now I'm healed. We don't question it. We just do it, right? I think a lot of the problem outside of something like that, like a pharmaceutical, for instance, that's highly regulated and they have all these laws and everything, versus something like what you're talking about with the, the essences, the essential oils, all that. It kind of gets put into this peg of pyramid scheme. It's the way for a stay-at-home mom to say, hey, hey, friends on Facebook, join my little business that I just started. And if you'll just buy $100 of this from me and you sell $100 to 3 of your friends, next thing you know, you'll have $150 and I'll have $50 and whoever's above me will have another $50 on that. And they all get kind of pegged into that pyramid scheme type thing. And we've talked to that in length to a couple of people, because some of those things, let's be honest, it's kind of put out there on Facebook, and it is that, to use the fair term, multi-level marketing, but it's almost looked at as a pyramid scheme. How do you get around that? Hey, this is not some pyramid scheme thing that I'm trying to get you to buy into, that, your friends on Facebook need to sign up for it.
Yeah, you're the first person who said that. I've never been approached with that question before. I mean, I started out as just me, little old me running the company, or the first 10 years, actually, I worked with people one-on-one till it got to a point where I was like, this is insane. I would listen to people's stories, prepare a remedy for them. They'd come back 3 weeks later. I would document photos, videos, their faces would change, their body language, their stories. The only reason we have products is because I felt like, if I worked like a dog, didn't take any vacations, the amount of people that I calculated I could see before I died would be 76,000. And to me, that wasn't enough. Like, if you're looking at somebody having a radical transformation in front of your eyes, then you start feeling a sense of duty to the world. Like, I have to get this out to other people, regardless if they think I'm a pyramid scheme or a snake oil or whatever they may think of me. It doesn't matter, because I have a duty to humanity, because I know I can see with my eyes, how this is helping people. And, I think if you look at like the number 3 leading cause of death in the United States is medical malpractice. So the days of trusting in allopathic medicine might be over, of like really genuinely trusting. There's so much bias to the studies. So I think more people today, is my guess, more than ever, are starting to do the research themselves. They're starting to really critically think, are starting to, open to new forms of healing that doesn't have any danger to it. It's not a life or death. You can't like take the wrong dose and something really bad happen. It's natural.
Right.
So I think that gives people comfort.
Yeah, and it's also why I don't go to the doctor. Because if going to the doctor could be medical malpractice, that's the number 3 cause of death. See, I scratched that off the list.
Well, I last went to the doctor in 1988.
Yeah.
That's the last time I went to the doctor. Seriously. Yeah. Other than for my son, that's the last time I went. But I think this last year, there's been even more of a pushback against natural medicines and, alternative health practices, especially during COVID, because there seemed to be such a little emphasis on building up your own immune system to something which I guess, attacks the body's immune system to take advantage of what type of, underlying health issues you already have. So you would think the biggest and best advice you could give to somebody would be improve your own immune system. And, the amount of poo-pooing on even, I guess, traditionally accepted supplements such as zinc and vitamin D, they weren't pushed, even though they were proven in various countries who funded the studies that they had a big effect on the overall health and recovery of people who did have COVID. And yet it was almost seen as witchcraft. And in some circles in this country, they were saying vitamin D, zinc, that won't make any difference. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And, it seems like it's divided. Yeah, it seems like it's divided a lot of people into, okay, maybe I should just trust the medical professionals now, not take these supplements, and, I'm not intelligent enough to do my own research online. And it's almost become a little bit of a nanny state this last 12, 18 months in terms of how they want to regulate your intake of things which actually improve your health.
But I thought that's why people went on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, for the experts
Yes,
on Facebook.
all the experts on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big problem. Because there's so much there. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw last year, there was a good amount of time where hashtag, natural immunity wouldn't pop up on Instagram or Facebook or anything having to do with the sun. So like the censorship was very strategic. And if I can say from my personal experience, we had the best year ever in 2020. People more than ever were coming to us looking for things. And I think if you were seeing stuff online about, or hearing people talk about being wary of supplements, it was most likely due to some sort of strategic censorship. Because, you can just ask your grandmother, is sunlight, water, oxygen, right? That's pretty, I don't know, common sense. We all need those things, like
Right.
flowers.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So take somebody like me. How does somebody like me who knows zero about this,
Yeah.
how do you get somebody like me started? Like, what does that entry plan look like?
Probably what I would do with you is just have you go like to our website, for example. If you want to do that now, you can. But I would have you go to our website. In the upper left-hand corner, there's a quiz. And you essentially just click on the flowers that you're most drawn to. And then I would take note of what those are. And essentially mirror back to you what that means and what you might be feeling on the inside and what you might need more of. That typically is kind of a showstopper because people are like, whoa, how do you know this about what's on the inside that I don't show anyone? But it's really just you picked what you were drawn to, and you'll always be drawn to what you need the most. I think by making it about you rather than what the actual remedies are and how they work, that's always been the fastest way to your heart, I guess.
Right. And so just to clarify, I did that actually, and I just want you to know, it takes 45 seconds, maybe a minute. It's not like some 30-minute quiz that you have to take forever, right? Because everybody's all about, that quick stuff, right? That 30-second TikTok video, that 2-minute YouTube video. It's almost kind of along those lines. It's maybe a minute. I think, what was it? Eight different questions, I think is what it was, right? It doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't take long.
Yeah. So all you have to do is go do that, and that's the easy way to get started.
Yeah. And it's kind of fun doing it because I think the result I wanted wasn't what I got. It proposed that I needed, kind of motivation and something to give me drive and enthusiasm, which is 100% correct.
Yes, that's 100% correct.
But I wanted the result of, we just need to give you something to make you feel really good and, just kind of relax and fall asleep and take a nap. But the answer was accurate, but it wasn't what I wanted. Now,
my answer was accurate. It said you were going to receive a check for $2 million because you were absolutely brilliant, and your check will be in the mail. By the way, still haven't got the check, Katie.
Yeah, that's because she sent it to my address. She doesn't have your address.
Oh.
And I told her to leave it blank because she wasn't sure whether you were Maximilian or Max.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, I thought she was just going to write it out cash, which we'll split that.
Yeah. Now, some of the samples you sent me, some were kind of topical applications, some were mists, and some were kind of tinctures under the tongue. Why do some flowers have to be kind of like taken in different ways to have have an effect?
Yeah, so the traditional way of taking them is internal, in the mouth or in your coffee, water, tea, and they don't have any scent. The flavor is just the honey base that we put them in. That's probably, if we were just like a purist flower essence company, that would be the only thing that we carry. It's just all internal remedies like that. And every flower on the planet has a really specific, different benefit, that it offers us. The mists and the oils and the smelly stuff, that's a carryover from the early days when people were wary of putting things in their mouth. They weren't really sure what it was, but they understood aromatherapy. it was like the hippie moms with the lavender, everybody kind of understood that. And, to just mist some yummy smelling thing around you or put on like a scented oil on your skin, it felt like a bridge. And then underneath we put the flower remedies. So if people wanted to think it was just a nice smelling thing, that was okay with me. As long as they used it regularly, they would start to notice some significant changes in their mind.
Yeah. Now, one thing which amazes me on this topic, especially with plant medicines, is how thousands of years ago people knew that a specific plant would benefit different parts of the body, or, even on a mental level. And, to me, it's the same as when people had detailed star maps, even when they couldn't see these things, in the heavens, in the night sky, that you kind of wonder where this inspiration and knowledge came from, the genesis of it. And that's where you start, I guess, kind of tripping a little bit into the spiritual side of things, where this all came from to begin with. I mean, who would have thought that shark liver oil would be a great cure for hemorrhoids? And I think on one of our previous podcasts, we were trying to work out.
You're making that up.
No, it's true. It's a big component of a hemorrhoid ointment. And so my thing was like, some guy was just wandering down the beach at night, hemorrhoids killing him, saw a dead shark washed up on the beach, thought, I know what, I'll cut it open and stick its liver up my ass. And lo and behold, his hemorrhoids got better. Now, we know that didn't happen, but in nature, how do people get to this without a ton of people kind of like dying or overdosing, getting sick? How did they manage to get it down so succinctly and exactly thousands of years ago?
Yeah, I think, some people will say, oh, it's because, enough people got poisoned and died, which I'm sure is a good mode of learning, of course, but there are other forms of communication that we're not so well versed in today as people were in the past. And that is in direct communication with the plants. I mean, I know this is going to sound out there, but if you ask the plants, they'll tell you. If you ask the tree, if you ask the plant and flower, they will tell you. I love your method of communication. Very much like between the plants and the people. It's nonverbal.
Yeah, we have a very high-tech way of saying, who's.
And you'll notice most of the time we ignore each other, because the last couple of times I think I put my hand up and he went ahead and spoke anyway. So it's a real effective method of communication. It's in its infancy. We're going to have flashcards. It's just going to have me on it or you on it, and we'll just flip it over.
Yeah, we're extremely professional with
this.
But
on that note, Katie, it actually doesn't
see how that worked, because I was supposed to be next, and now all of a sudden he's asking a question. Yeah. So
I saw a gap in the armor and went for it. But I don't think it actually sounds that out there, because I've read scientific studies about how amazingly plants can interact with their environment outside of their root system and everything else. I remember reading about a test where they would drop in a specific plant a couple of inches onto the table in its pot, and it would actually shrink down. But after about the 5th time, it would learn that this wasn't dangerous and it would keep its same structure. And they put it in a nursery with other plants, and then would take some of these other plants and repeat the experiment, and somehow they had communicated that this wasn't damaging or dangerous, and it was like some kind of chemical communication whereby the plants actually had a learning system. So no, I don't think it sounds that out there. I think there's a lot of scientific evidence behind it which supports that.
Well, yeah, it's almost like when you mow the grass. Science has actually proved now that smell when you mow the grass is the grass screaming out saying, hey, somebody's attacking me.
Yeah, I saw a meme actually. It's like, tough luck, grass. I actually like that smell.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of the work of Cleve Baxter, though? Okay, so Cleve Baxter was, he worked in the CIA, and he was the master at the polygraph machine, so the lie detector machine. And I mean, this guy had been a pretty interesting guy, because one evening, and he was at his office, and he just got curious what would happen if he hooked up the lie detector machine to his office plant, right? And then he did that, and then he thought, I wonder what would happen if I took a match and lit the plant on fire. And at the moment that he had that thought, without taking out the match, he just thought about doing it. the machine started to freak out. So the plant started to register a tremendous amount of stress on the machine. And that one experiment just opened up his whole world to like a whole slew of experiments that he did with plants. He found that plants could identify the murder in a room, that based on the information that was coming out into the lie detector machine. They also form really deep relationships with you. And like, I see you've got a plant in the background. I'm not sure if
Yes.
that's real, but
So our plant in the background is actually
Nylon.
it is a metaphor for this podcast because it is fake. But we like our plant. We used to use the plant to hide a trash pile in the background because we always wanted to have a camera set up like this. And so we put the plant in front of the trash pile, and then we realized, well, wait, we're not filming any of these. Why are we worrying with that? And then once we decided, hey, we're going to put the camera up and do these on video, we realized that plant can't hide the trash pile very well, so we had to get rid of the trash pile. So actually, we blame the plant for not being good enough to hide the trash pile because we're very, very lazy. And we would have rather had a plant that would hide the trash pile. So we actually don't like that plant, but he's still there. We're pretty sure he's a he. We still haven't named the plant. Should we name the plant? Actually, let's let Katie name the plant.
Fake plastic trees.
Well, we did talk about fake plastic trees by Radiohead, and that's exactly what that is. But
let's just call it Tom then. After Tom York, Radiohead.
No. We need to let Katie name the plant. So, Katie, take a look at our fake plastic tree back there. You need to give our plant a name.
Max, I can't do it. I think you should get a grow light, and you should put a real plant in
I think we should have real plants as well.
We did that to our office this year. We filled it like a jungle. So good.
Yeah, but why would we get a grow light for our fake plant?
She meant get a real plant, dude.
Oh, why would we do that?
Well, the lady in the office next to us has this plant which is it's pretty invasive because about every day we come back, it's grown about another 4 feet, and it's starting to look like a jungle, like in the office next door. It started off, I think it was like maybe about 6 or 8 foot long, and the last year now it's covering it's covering like about 10% of the office, which we're good with. But now because we don't take care of it, so we don't take care of it. Even in her absence, actually, she has asked us to water it, but he keeps forgetting.
Yes, I do.
And in fact, one time he actually, because he knew she was coming back in the afternoon, he got a handful of snow and put it on there so it would melt and do the soil, but that didn't work out too well. Yeah.
But we digress.
Yeah. Now, how much do you think in taking, plant essences is psychosomatic? Because I think people overlook exactly how much benefit there is even from having that psychosomatic effect, because mental health and feeling that something is helping has been proven through placebo to have a very positive effect, physiologically and on the psyche. So do you think that people automatically feel better just having the products, in addition to the actual true benefits?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's kind of like yoga or working out or eating healthy. It's like one is the act of eating good food, taking care of yourself, working out, exercising, but you also know it's good for you. So you kind of generate this momentum of I'm doing something good for myself. Although, I used to tell my clients, I used to have in the early days, people would do a consultation with me, and then they'd at the end of the hour, they'd stand at the door and they would say, I really like you, Katie. You're such a nice person. And I just have to be honest, I don't really think this is going to work. And I would just kind of chuckle and say, it's okay. You don't have to believe in it. You just have to take it. So just go take it. Doesn't require your belief on anything, and just see what happens. And those would be the people that would come back and be like, what the hell? How does this stuff work? It totally works. So it doesn't require your belief. I was in Korea once at a business meeting, and we had a business lunch, and I was sitting around the table with all these Korean guys in suits, very serious. And so I took out the joy juice. We have this elixir called joy juice that makes you laugh. I put it in all the green tea pots, And in like 5 or 10 minutes, everybody was like laughing like little boys. It was phenomenal. And they didn't even know it was in there. So, I mean, on one hand, it doesn't require your belief to work, which is really cool. You know, you don't have to believe that you're going to feel better when you go spend the day in the forest, but you do. But that being said, yeah, absolutely. There's tremendous power in just doing something good for yourself. I think taking care of yourself, you automatically feel better, whether it's eating healthy or taking flower essences or exercising. It's all spinning that momentum.
All right. So note to self, don't go to a bar with Katie. She's going to spike your drink with something, some kind of flower or whatever to make you maybe, So we haven't done this for a long time on the show, but we used to have a kind of segment we called Stump the Shepherd. And it was always up to the wolf to ask some questions. But I've got 2 questions, so we're going to stump the flower expert. And I'm going to tell you I know the answer to one of the 2 of these. So you could pretty much lie on the other one. I'm not going to tell you which one I know the answer to, but I'm just curious what your answer is. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you the one that I know the answer to. So question number 1, why do brides carry bouquets?
I mean, I have my answer. My answer would be the flowers always they always intersect our lives in moments of great transition, whether it's sickness, death, love. I'm sure there is more folkloric reason of why brides carry flowers.
So her answer is so much nicer. It's actually because there was very little bathing way back in the day, so flowers actually hid the scent of how bad people stunk back then. And so I just realized I gave away the one I know the answer to.
That's all the more reason for us to get real plants in the office, actually.
Exactly. All right, so question number 2. Stop and smell the roses. Where did that come from? I mean, everybody always says, stop and smell the roses.
I know.
Oh, okay. So the wolf knows the answer. Stop and smell the roses. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Shakespeare.
Oh, so that doesn't matter because he's from the UK. Nobody cares about that.
Can you remember what book it was from? What play it was from?
Yeah, the Shakespeare Volume 3.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, it's his most famous work.
Yeah. It came after Volume 2 and before Volume 4.
Volume 4.
Exactly.
The unfinished version. Yeah. Now, if people, want to try this but not dive fully in, do you do any kind of like little sample things? Because I know you sent me an awesome pack of stuff and, I was looking at all your products on your website and I was kind of blown away by your generosity with it. But do you have like little sample sachets and packs, which, if somebody writes into you, you can send them out something to try rather than, diving in?
That's such a great idea. No, actually we don't. But what we do have is a whole team of people waiting, to either email, social media, you can call in to help you like really dial in what you might need or what you might want to start with first. So it's super customized to your life, your lifestyle, what's happening, what do you want to see happening in the next month. So the service is, I think, what will get you closer to what you need.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier about Skeptics. Now, I looked through on your podcast page on your website, and you've had a lot of people on the show. But, I mean, have you had anybody who's been really kind of anti the idea of it? And, perhaps, I don't know, they've come up with questions which it's more of a matter of faith as opposed to what you can kind of prove to them, as in, you're going to have to try it yourself, but, you get a lot of people who are reluctant to try it because they just really not into it. I mean, have you really been stumped or hit a brick wall, which you just don't know how to get past and you just consider that person or maybe group of people like that a bit of a write-off, as in this just isn't going to be for them because their belief and trust is not going to be in this, and they're just going to say, oh, it's coincidence, it's this, it's that?
Yeah, it's possible that demographic exists. I think I toppled into that demographic in the early 2000s more when I was first starting. I never, talked to people who aren't open these days, and maybe that's just the kind of folks that are attracted in. But yeah, everything is not for everyone. I'm sure there's a part of the population that's like maybe very, very invested in, say, pharmaceuticals, double-blind studies. Perhaps that person wouldn't be open, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be for everyone. I mean, I think the majority of the population understands the beauty of nature. And if you're not wanting to take flower essences in your life, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to. If it makes your life happier and easier and makes you sleep better and you feel more fulfilled, I think everyone would want to feel that way. But if you don't want to, you can just start by growing a garden or spending more time out in nature, because those same benefits will take place over time.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So, Katie, how can we find you on the internet, social media, maybe not carrier pigeons, but like bees flying around and finding you? So anybody listening to this, how can they find out more about this and get in touch with you and find out more about this?
Yeah, so our website is Lotus, like the flower, and then Wei, WEI.com. You can find the quiz there. You can also visit us in Phoenix, Arizona. We have the Self-Arising Nature Center, so you can come in and visit. We have a 15,000 square foot building here. And we offer education courses online if anyone wants to learn more about flower essences. And then I'll just throw this last little bit out there shamelessly. There's something that we came out with last month that has been bonkers popular. It's called Sacred Body. I mean, it shocked me how we sold out like 5 times. It shocked me how popular it was. And it's a combination of flower essences, which are usually only for like emotional, mental. But in this particular case, it's for people who are experiencing weird physical symptoms, like weird headaches, or like you go out to the grocery store and you come home and you feel tired and something feels off. I think a lot of people have been feeling that way lately. So it's a remedy to help your body purify itself very rapidly. And I think we'll probably be needing more and more of that this year and as we roll out. So always happy to help people figure out what remedies they need. Feel free to call us, email us, hunt us down on social media.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us. And I'm a little ashamed of you that I didn't get any of this, but I've
been using it every day.
I'm sure you have, because you always bogart the good stuff. I never get any of the good stuff. So, and that's the way it goes, Katie. I'm sorry for him. I have to apologize. Yeah, I have to apologize for him so much. I'm just getting worn out by it. But Katie, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. And please check her out. Her links are going to be on our website as well. So please check all that good stuff out. And that will do it for this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. I'm going to now bounce my terrible mouse so I can stop this recording. And we will catch you on the next one.